Every morning, Zoe made the coffee. She showed up at 8 a.m., smiled at the front desk, brewed the coffee, booked the meetings, and stayed quiet. She was 27 years old, working as an administrative assistant at a tech company in Austin, Texas. To most people in that office, she was just there, filling space, keeping things running, easy to overlook. Her colleagues would walk past her desk talking about stock options and product launches, big ideas, big dreams, and Zoe would nod politely and go back to her calendar. Nobody ever asked her opinion. Nobody ever wondered what she was thinking. They had already decided who she was the moment they saw her title. One afternoon, in a team meeting, a senior developer named Craig was explaining a technical problem to the group. Zoe asked a question, a smart one. Craig looked at her the way people look at someone who has just stepped out of their lane. He smiled, not a kind smile, and said, "The technical stuff is a little beyond your pay grade, Zoe. Just stick to the calendar." The room moved on. Zoe wrote something in her notepad. She did not argue. She did not explain herself. She just smiled and kept it moving. Because Zoe had a secret. Every day at 5 p.m., Zoe packed her bag, walked out of that office, and became a completely different version of herself. She drove home to her small apartment, 2 monitors on her desk, a whiteboard covered with diagrams, takeout containers on the counter, and a dream so big she barely had words for it. For 2 years, every single night and every single weekend, Zoe had been building a software startup, alone, from nothing. While her coworkers were posting photos from happy hours, Zoe was coding. While they were brunching on Sundays, she was pitching investors over Zoom. She had taught herself things nobody in that office would have believed she knew. She had failed, restarted, stayed up until 3 a.m., cried once or twice, and kept going. She never talked about it at work, not because she was ashamed, but because she understood something most people learn too late. Not every dream needs an audience while it is still growing. Then one Thursday morning, everything changed. The company was in crisis. Their core software product had a serious problem, one that was costing them money and pushing customers away. The leadership team was panicking. The head of technology, a man named David, was searching everywhere for a solution. He was reading TechCrunch, a big tech news website, looking at startups that were solving problems like theirs. He found one, a small but sharp company that had just been accepted into one of the most competitive startup programs in the entire country, out of thousands of applications. The solution they had built was almost exactly what his company needed. David clicked on the founder's photo profile. He stared at his screen for a long moment. Then he picked up his phone. The CEO called an emergency meeting. When the conference room doors opened, everyone expected consultants, maybe some sharp young guys in expensive shoes from San Francisco. Instead, Zoe walked in, not with a coffee tray, not with a meeting agenda. Zoe walked in wearing a blazer, carrying a laptop, standing next to her co-founder and a lawyer. She was calm, completely calm. The kind of calm that only comes from 2 years of quiet, hard, invisible work. The CEO stood up, a little stunned. David, the head of technology, extended his hand and looked genuinely amazed. And Craig, the developer who had told her to stick to the calendar, was sitting right there at that table. He could not look her in the eye. Zoe sat down, opened her laptop, and began to speak. Not with anger, not with attitude. She did not bring up the past. She did not need to. She was there for one reason, to talk about a potential acquisition on her terms. The deal was signed later that afternoon. On her way out of the building, Zoe stopped,
Right there in the lobby was the front desk where she had sat for 3 years. She walked over to it slowly. She ran her hand gently across the surface. She thought about every morning she had made the coffee, every time someone had talked over her, every night she had gone home and kept building anyway. She smiled, a quiet, full smile. Then she walked out into the Austin sunshine and did not look back. Here is what Zoe's story teaches us. Not everyone who is quiet is lost. Not everyone who is overlooked is small. Some people are not stuck. They're just building, slowly, silently, without needing anyone's permission or applause. The world is full of people who will decide who you are before you ever open your mouth. Let them. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to keep building. Never announce your moves to people who have already made their minds about you. Build in silence. Let the results make the noise.